Hello Internet, I am Santiago Zapata and I am here in the coffee area of Colombia with Mr. Glenn Wichman, one of the original creators of Rogue. So we are going to do like a short talk about some game design topics and some rogue related topics, right? And roguelikes.
Okay,
So thank you for accepting this small interview, Mr. Glenn.
sure.
So what do you think what do you think this genre is heading to? This roguelike genre. What's going to be in the future for roguelikes?
It's hard to say. I think it's going to be the same things that are in the future for all different games. I think virtual reality is, one of the next big waves that's on the horizon, and so I'm sure there will be a virtual reality roguelike, and I think that will be really interesting. There probably already is one out there. I just don't know about it yet.
I know of one.
A procedurally generated environment that you can actually walk inside. But yeah, who knows what the next innovation is going to be.
What do you think are the challenges for game design with all these new technologies, especially virtual reality and everything that's coming?
It's a good question, and it'd probably be better answered by someone who's got a degree in game design. But I'll give it my best shot. I think technology is not going to make your game any better. I mean, I think that's the main thing that you have to have in your mind, is that the technology is a channel. It's a means to an end. And maybe it will open up some new doors for you to make some games possible that weren't possible before. But if you look at what made Rogue good, none of it was the technology. I mean, certainly not from today's point of view, but it was cutting to edge technology at the time that we were creating the game. So the challenges that we faced were how to make a game run in 60K of memory, how to make a game engaging and how to build a fantasy world when all you had were ASCII characters to use. So those were our technical challenges, but that wasn't what made Rogue fun or not fun. So I think you need to look at the technology that you have, figure out how you're going to make use of it, but the fun and the engagement are not based on the technology.
What do you think about these roguelites, or games that have some design elements from Rogue but are not really roguelikes?
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen them?
I've seen a few, yeah, and I think the more different ideas and the more different ways that people use elements from different games and mix them together, the more diversity we get, and I think that's always good. I think that Rogue introduced a few really interesting innovations for its time, and I think that everybody ought to introduce their own innovations when they make their own game, and so of course it's going to evolve and it's going to change, and that's what makes the new games interesting.
What do you think about the current distribution channels, like the application store, like the App Store or Google Play and Steam for PC, versus another ways of distributing, like the traditional one or some online methods? What do you think is the pros and the cons? And
I think the App Store sucks. I understand why Apple did it the way they did, and it makes sense, but I think all of the unintended side effects of it it's a terrible distribution channel, especially for a small independent game. Unless you just happen to have lightning strike, you're not going to get any visibility for your game. I don't like back when the internet was first beginning to catch on outside of computer science realms, I was advocating from the very beginning that it makes no sense to be distributing software in those days on floppy disks or on CD-ROMs when you could just have the game live on the internet and you just go to a site with a URL and you always get the latest version of the game. And I loved when web-based games started to come out and web-based applications where you always have the latest version, everybody always sees the same version, and you don't have to worry about distribution. And I feel like with a lot of these new ways of distributing, we've lost that. I think Steam seems to be better, although I'm not really familiar with it. I haven't used it a lot. It seems to be a more effective way for an independent developer to put something where it's going to get noticed, especially by the gamer community. But yeah, I would like to see internet-based distribution of games where you just go to a website and play the game there. I still think that's a good way to go. It's just a difficult problem in general, since the gaming community is 1,000 times the size that it was when I started out. There's a huge population to reach, but there are so many games being created, and that's good. That's a wonderful thing. The more the better. But I think it's a hard problem to solve for a person who's got an idea for a game, or a small company that's got an idea for a game. How you're going to get it in front of all of the people who might want to play it. And for a gamer, there are just so many choices now. Again, when I was starting out, there were literally maybe 15 games to play at all. So, and then there were hundreds and thousands, and now there's millions, and so how do you choose which one to play? You've just got so many choices.
That's right. Let's talk a bit about game design. What do you think, how this role has changed throughout the years? The evolution of this role of the game designer.
So when I went to college in 1979, I wanted to major in game design, and that didn't mean computer game design, because I didn't really even understand about computers until I got to college. But of course there was no such thing as a game design major. So
Buenos días.
Buenos días. When we designed Rogue, we were just figuring out how to have fun. We didn't have a language to use like we do now. We didn't talk about game mechanics or friction points or core loops or any of those things. So then as my career went on, there weren't sort of game design positions you could apply for or anything like that yet, or very few. It wasn't a discipline.
Okay.
And over the years, the 30 years since I started doing this, it has become a discipline, and now there's a lot of really good schools that have dedicated programs that are specifically about game design, and that's such an exciting thing to see. But I kind of missed out on it, so I might have ended up with a career as a game designer. Instead, I have a really nice career as a game engineer.
Okay.
And when I am fortunate, my work allows me to have some design input, but I'm paid for my engineering skills, not for my game design skills.
Okay. So do you think the game designer should code? How far should he get into the code? Or should he stop in a game design document or something like that?
People should do what they love.
Okay.
People should do what they love. I love game design and I love programming. So when I can do both, I will do both. But I think if you love game design and you don't like programming, then you know you're lucky because you live in a world where you can make a career designing games without having to program. And if you love writing code and I think if you're going to be a game coder, you should at least have an appreciation for game design. And if you're going to be a game designer, you should have an appreciation for engineering. I think you should, even if you never intend to write a line of code, you should at least learn what coding is, how it works. You should learn, and you know, it's not just those two disciplines, right? There's user interaction design, and there's graphic design, and there's sound design, and production and quality assurance. And you should have at least a feel and appreciation for all of those disciplines and how a good game is not possible without all of them working together well. But you should do what you love.
Finish up. Let's finish the same way that we did on the first interview.
Okay.
Do you have any message for the roguelike community, still the independent developers out there doing their games on their own or in small teams?
Mm-hmm. Yes, I am so glad that this is still a thing, because again, I have worked on games where there have been 100 people working on the game, and it's great. It's like making a movie. You know, it's really neat to see so many people coming together to create something. But I think that we always need to have room for you know, the individual visionary who has an idea and they want to see it come to life. And for people like me who like game design and graphic design and engineering, to have a space where you can bring all of your loves together in one place. So I've been excited to see just how vibrant, and you know, I don't keep up with things as well as I should. There are millions of games out there. It's overwhelming to try to have an understanding of everything that's going on, and I'm really busy creating new ones, so I don't have time to look at everybody.
Please keep being busy at that. It's better for us.
But yeah, I'm excited that there's continues to be space in this industry for small teams and individuals to create games. And again, a game does not have to be technologically on the edge in order for it to be fun. Simple games can be fun. I love simple games. So yeah, if you want to make stuff for me, make them simple. I think a lot of roguelikes, this is just a personal taste, but for me a lot of roguelikes got way too complicated for my tastes. I like to have a game that you can wrap your head around in just a few minutes, and that's not difficult because it's complicated, but it's difficult because it's challenging. So that's I think where I would like to make sure people are focusing. Don't just throw in lots and lots of stuff and overload your game with too many features. Make sure that you've got a game that, while it's still simple, is fun.
All right, thank you, Mr. Glenn.
All right.
And I hope we can meet again, maybe in 10 years, for the third iteration of this interview.
Sure.
And thank you again.
All right, thank you.